Well, I want to start out by thanking our fans and our student body. I mean, I had a dad that played, his son plays for us, and he played college football, and his older son played at a major college that's in our conference, and he said that he's never been a part of a game day atmosphere like that. And so just thank the fans and thank our student body, our support staff, as far as our creative team and our video team. I mean, they were elite. I thought the music was incredible. That's coming from re-watching it. Of course, I didn't hear a lot going on during the game, but had a lot of comments, and I thought just the atmosphere was amazing. Our band was incredible. I did hear that a little bit because DeRuiter said they were so loud, so that's a good thing. And we get to do it again. We need the student body out. We're playing a ranked opponent here at 3 o'clock. And, it's really important that we have that support and make sure that it's a hostile environment. I know we will. So I just wanted to say that, just appreciate everybody. And then, of course, everybody that worked the game, from the concession stand to the people that worked that. I've just had so many people that my family and my friends that have said that just the atmosphere from everything in the stadium was incredible. So can't thank y'all enough for that. I'm going to start out, try to do this every week with guys that are playing or not playing. Cole Spencer is out for the year. We made that determination. Some of the older people like myself in here will understand that more than some of you younger people. Whenever you've had an injury, your body starts trying to overcome, and sometimes you end up hurting something else. And so his lower back was giving him a lot of trouble. The great thing about him is we're going to medical redshirt him, and he'll be back for us next year. That's not good news right now, but if you look at overall program-wise, whenever you get a veteran O-lineman that gets to come back, that's always good for the future. So excited that he's going to be okay and be able to play again. Guys that won't play this week, I know we'll have one that we'll have questions about, but Tyler Shuck, Cameron Valdez, Cameron Waits, and Derek Lewis, they will all be back at some point, so there's no season-ending injuries with those guys. Cameron still looking at maybe North Carolina State, probably Texas. Cameron's a little bit longer. Derek Lewis is the same as Cameron. We're expecting him back North Carolina State, possibly Texas. Guys that will be back this week, Robert Wooten, Bryce Ramirez, Joseph Adedire, and Landon Hullaby. And so really excited about getting those guys back. Add depth to our defensive line, keep us fresh, and I think that paid off on Saturday, and it definitely pay off this Saturday. Guys that are questionable for this week, it'd be kind of a Thursday, Friday decision, is Coy Aiken with a groin, and Jordan Brown. We're actually going to work him into practice on Tuesday, so I really feel like he's will be 100% chance of getting him back, but still we'll see how he looks tomorrow. After watching film of our guys, man, I'm really excited about the way all three quarterbacks played, but want to give, some credit to Dennis Wilburn. I mean, he played incredible. Really solidified the middle of our offensive line. Was really proud. He's very physical, picking up blitzes. He ran the offensive line, communicated, so was excited about him. And then it was great to see the way Philip Belidi played with the 2 sacks, but, man, he was all over the field. And it's good to see a young defensive lineman come into his own and play like that. So really excited about those guys. Excited to play Houston. They're a Big 12 opponent now. I know it's not this year, but they are, and I have a lot of respect for Dana. He and I know each other pretty well, and got to play him in 2018 whenever he was at West Virginia. A lot of familiarity on our staff and their staff. So really excited about playing them. Man, I watched, of course, watched them on film. Know their quarterback well because he's from Hebron. Versatile quarterback, big arm, can run. So he's going to be a threat. We've got to do a good job with him. Defensively, they play football the way you're supposed to play. They run to the ball like their hair's on fire. They're very aggressive. They've got a young defense coordinator that's got a really knack for playing good defense. They call themselves Sack Ave because they sacked the quarterback a lot. They had 3 sacks this last week. They're going to put a lot of pressure on us offensively. So it's going to be a great game. And anytime you get to play a ranked opponent, it's always a great measuring stick. And so I have a lot of respect for their program and can't wait to tee it up on Saturday at 3 p.m. So with that, we'll open up for questions and go from there.
Coach, you mentioned Tyler being out and Donovan getting the start, and also Barron as QB2 now. Going into Houston, do their packages change a little bit just based on the defense and what you guys seen on film?
No, expectations are to play both of them. Just like, we were planning on playing all 3 of them. One, with Tyler getting hurt, we had to throw Donovan in there a little bit earlier than what we expected. But, we plan on playing Barron and Donovan. The packages changed a little bit because, we had a couple of them where we were going to have all 3 of them on the field at the same time. And with Tyler out this week, we won't see that. But you'll see both quarterbacks this week. And, excited. It's a good thing that, they're excited about that. I think they were locked in. And, you saw Barron, I think Donovan, his first 2 passes were touchdowns. And then you see Barron with the number 1 offense. He goes down, drives down, and scores a touchdown. So very capable. I hate it for Tyler. Kid's worked his tail off, but he'll be back. And those guys are more than capable to step in and go out and lead us to a win.
You also just mentioned Houston's defense is very physical, and they like to go after the quarterback. What are a couple keys to success for the offensive line, in your opinion, this week? We got to pick up their twist. We got to do a good job, number 9. For them, their defensive end does a really good job. Watching him on film, he has a lot of hand fakes to where he tries to get you to bite for that, and then he's going to, dip and rip and be in the quarterback's lap. And so we've got to do a good job being patient. And, offensive line play, whenever it comes to pass blocking, is so much communication and being able to pass stuff off to each other. And so it's a big week for those guys. They're going to get really tested on, playing the defense like this because – excuse me, Houston, they are a Big 12 opponent. This is not a group of 5 team or a lower level team. They're a ranked opponent, and they're going to be a opponent that we're going to see each other for a long time. And so this is going to be a really good test. I'm excited to play them.
Go to the right side of Justin. Yeah, Coach, is there any separation at the kicker position, or are you still going to plan to rotate them throughout this week?
No, it'll be, expect Donovan to start. And then Barron will definitely have, just like coming in this last week, have a package to where he'll be able to go in and play. I don't know where this comes from, or maybe it's a little bit different. It's not going to be a rotation deal, but I truly believe smart coaches, and I'm not saying I am, Zach Kitley is, but smart coaches get their playmakers on the field. And it's weird that the quarterback position is the only position that everybody thinks there should only be one playing. Whenever those guys are usually some of your best athletes, and they're definitely some of our best athletes, and I think they proved it on Saturday, and we're going to continue that way. So he'll have a package to where he'll be able to come in and do something to affect the game.
Yeah, is there any separation between Wolf and Garcia at the kicker position?
No, we didn't have an opportunity really to kick a field goal, and so they both rotated at extra points. We'll do the same thing. Wolf will continue to kick off for us. Again, I think we proved we have one of the best special teams rooms in the country with what those guys did, and only really having one returnable kick, and then turning it around and seeing what Austin did in the punting game was pretty impressive.
And at right guard,
Right tackle, Monroe played really well. I expect for Ty Buchanan to play a series early, but Monroe played really well, and he would definitely start. Just in the O-line, I still see Jacoby Jackson getting, we played him the 3rd series. He played really well. So I do see Jacoby still being able to rotate some at guard. Dennis has solidified himself as the starting center, and then I thought Weston and Caleb Rogers played really well, and then, they're our starting left guard and left tackle.
And did you ever find out exactly what it was with Tyler?
It's just still his shoulder. He goes in Wednesday. It's going to be a deal to where how many weeks it will be. I don't want to go any farther than the shoulder. I know he will not play against Houston. He won't play against North Carolina State, and probably will stretch into Texas. After that, we'll just have to see, where he's at. If it goes longer, the good thing is it's not a good thing, but it is a good thing that we got to bye after the Oklahoma State game. So it pushes you into where you've got, anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks to recover from his shoulder.
After taking a look at the game tape from the first half to the second half, not allowing a first down in the second half, what were the adjustments that the defense made over the course of first half to second half? How do you expect that to carry over to this weekend?
Well, it was a little bit of their quarterback, their starting quarterback, getting hurt. I think they got a little conservative in the second half, and the game kind of got away. But I also think Coach DeRuiter challenged, the guys defensively of having better eyes. I still go back. I mean, if you watch any game, whether it's last night, tonight, or any game on Sunday, usually guys, they get beat, not because of their athletic ability, but because where their eyes are and, doing their job. I mean, it's very simple. You just know and do your job is what most people, whenever they try to do too much or they're looking at something that they're not supposed to be looking at, where you get you beat. And I thought our guys did a better job in the second half of having their eyes where they needed to be.
Go up here to Chuck. Carlos right after that.
Coach, could you talk about what you saw from Tyree on Saturday night defensively?
He's so physically dominant. I want to talk about the D-line as I'm talking about him. It was great to have 4 sacks, and I think he had a half a sack, whenever him and Krishan and Kosai finished it off. But it shows the effect that he has on the game, freeing some people up, because you've got to deal with him. The most impressive thing for me is how hard he played. I mean, he ran to the football. This is one time, and he'll tell you, to be the first to tell you, he lost contain, rushing the upfield shoulder. But, I mean, just chasing the football, he was relentless and put some really good stuff on tape. I mean, he's a guy you have to deal with, because whether you're chipping him with a tight end or where you're helping a tackle with a running back, I mean, he's just so long and so physical. I was really proud of him, and he played a good number of snaps because – we had some younger guys to back him up and get guys in there. But, without Joseph Adedire and Robert Wooten, he probably played a few more snaps early than, what he'll play, to keep him fresh throughout the game.
And then can you talk about the effect the sideline speakers had on your team from just enthusiasm, emotion, energy standpoint?
Well, anytime that you can create an atmosphere, I think it helped us. And, they're really kind of pointed right there to the student section, and so it's keeping everybody engaged whenever different things happen, different situations, whether it be a third down or a fourth down. The one thing that we didn't get to hear through the speakers that, one of my biggest things I'm going to talk to the team about tomorrow is we didn't have a takeaway, and so we've got to do a better job of strip attempts. Again, go back. I know I keep preaching about eyes, but if your eyes aren't in the right spot, then it's hard to intercept a ball. And so we've got to do a better job in the secondary with that. But I thought it was great, man. I thought the atmosphere was incredible. And, you talk about the speakers, I thought that helped. And then, again, having a full stadium or close to full, whenever you're talking about 58,000+ people and the band playing and be excited for game one, I thought it was really huge for our guys. It gives us, we feed off of that. We feed off of the music, we feed off the crowd, and then we feed off of each other, the way they get up and celebrate a big play with each other. That's a big part of this.
Coach, after watching the game tape, what were the, results of you kind of seeing some of those big pass plays kind of get completed? Was it miscommunication, or I guess what were some of the things there, and is that just something maybe first game to where you can kind of get those fixed?
You know, it all plays together. Whenever you're talking about defensive football, it's like a puzzle. You know, everything fits together. Literally, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and everybody's got to fit. And so, you know, they didn't complete one that they could have, and we lost contain to our sideline. We got chipped and by the tight end, and it should have worked back outside, and we didn't. We came inside, and so that allowed the quarterback to escape the pocket and probably prolong the play. The DBs have got to be disciplined to play all the way through the play. And then the one that they did complete, that we held them to a field goal, and, you know, I was really excited about that. We lost contain. We didn't rush the upfield shoulder. So, again, it prolongs the play. You know, you got to play all the way through with your eyes, but that was one to where we gave up those. And you know, we've got to do a better job play action-wise. I mean, when you're a middle safety, you know, Rabbit and I talked about this. I mean, you got to play the run, but as soon as it goes play action, that quarterback bounces, you got to bounce with a lot of speed. You know, probably should have picked that ball off. It ended up being a touchdown.
Krishan was very complimentary about the defensive line. How did you feel they were about funneling to the linebackers? Because Krishan was certainly everywhere and led in tackles, and how much did that help the linebackers just kind of make their tackles when they're kind of getting to them that way?
Well, you know, I've always believed, I mean, it's very important. If you're going to get single blocked as a defensive lineman, you should make the tackle. And so what you should have to do is create double teams that make it easy for linebackers to play off of. You know, we have – I think one thing that we have is we have 5 guys in the interior that they're playing fresh and they have a chance to really dominate up front. And then you turn around and you're about to add 3 more guys that are going to play on the edge that are going to keep Josiah really fresh. Bryce Ramirez is fixed to Bryce is about to have a really good year for the Red Raiders, and really excited about getting him back. But then you turn around, Wooten and Joseph rotate in there, you know, and share snaps to give Tyree a blow. It's going to make a big difference. So those linebackers, you know, it's easy to play whenever big guys aren't in your face and in your lap, you know, and so it's important that they do a good job. And then I think on Tuesdays, we do a deal on Tuesdays. Our 9-on-7 is really, it's not to work the run game, you know, or a run defense. It's really to get after each other, hat in hands, and get off blocks and stay on blocks. And so I think that's helping our guys, you know, understand that. The coaches have to understand that. You know, they want to scheme stuff up, and I don't really care on Tuesdays if we gain a yard or if we don't stop. I want to hit blocks and get off blocks, and so I think that's really important. I think it's going to show up week after week in our run defense.
Go Pete, then Mason, then Don.
Coach, what are the biggest concerns you see with Houston?
Their slot receiver, number one, is explosive. I mean, is really explosive, not only on offense, but in the return game. He's a kickoff and punt returner, had big gains against UTSA, and so we've got to do a good job knowing where he's at. They move him around. And then, you know, you turn around and their quarterback's a vet. I mean, he's played a lot of football. And so whenever you're facing a guy like that, he's going to be able to come in and play at a high level. And then defensively, we got to protect our quarterback. You know, they take a lot of pride in creating negative plays. They take a lot of pride in sacking the quarterback. And so, you know, one of our deals is, you know, dominate up front, run the ball, stop the run, hit their quarterback, protect ours. That's going to show up as big as anything in this game. And so it's really important. Again, you know, when you're ranked in the top 25, you're a good football team. And, you know, every week we're going to face good football teams, and we're fixed to face a really good one, well coached. They're going to come in with a lot of enthusiasm because they know just as well as I do that we do that this is a Big 12 opponent. Like, this is a conference opponent. And so just getting to play it a year earlier and excited about that.
Have you or will you call your Dave Campbell magazine buddy, Jeff Traylor?
Talked to him a little bit yesterday. Really, more than anything, you know, just to say, hey, what's next, you know? And he and I are really, really close, but definitely, you know, but I'll do that the next week, you know, with anybody that's playing, you know, I'll reach out. That's a good thing, being an old high school coach with great players. You know a lot of people around the nation that you can call and talk to some stuff. But I will tell you the great thing about tape is it doesn't lie. It tells you exactly who you are and what's your identity, and their identity is they're physical and they're fast and they like playing football. And good thing is so do we. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And then can you just talk about how nice it is being home these first 2 weeks? And I know you said it was tough because it was a late game for
Yeah.
you and you had to wait all day, and it's a 3 o'clock game this week.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, again, there's no place like Jones AT&T. I mean, it is just all my family, all my friends that came. We had 40-plus people here at the game, and then just all of the parents and stuff like that. They were just amazed, and I know it's going to be the same way this week. And from the Raider Walk, we're going to close that in a little bit more so we can get more people in there. But, man, everybody showed up for that. That was huge for our players. We've been talking about, how much support we're about to have. And I thought that, talking to them yesterday, they were like, Coach, man, that was absolutely amazing. We could feel the excitement walking into that stadium. And so really appreciate the fans for that. And, we got to do it again. This is an important game, and we get to show who we are against a really good football team.
Go to Mason, the back, and we'll finish with Don.
Kind of going back to UTSA right there, what do you think the Roadrunners did well against Houston and kind of had them struggling going into that double overtime?
Well, the one thing, and it's against anybody, Jeff Traylor has got a very physical football team, and they run to the football. I mean, it is extremely impressive how hard they play on defense. And that's a defense coordinator that was a high school coach with Jess, and he does a phenomenal job. I think those guys really love their coaches, and they play really hard for them. They play hard for each other. And so, that's what they do well. They've done it, this is his third year, and it's amazing what, he's done. Not surprised because he did that at Gilmer. If you look at his Gilmer teams, they played great defense. They played really hard, and, they showed that. And then they had a vet quarterback that's played a lot of snaps. We played him in 2019 when he was a young guy, and you knew he was going to be really good. He's another guy that's a dual threat that can extend plays. And anytime you have quarterbacks that are dual threats that can extend plays, it's always tough to defend. So I thought he did a really good job against those guys.
And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but with Donovan and Barron probably getting more playing time these next couple of weeks, is this an opportunity for them to possibly have more playing time down the road when Tyler does ultimately come back?
Well, there's never been a time in my mind that I wasn't going to play all three quarterbacks. I knew that it's one of those deals. I know that everybody's going to go start a game, but it's crazy that is the one position that nobody ever rotates, and so old coaches, and I'm an old coach, but old coaches say if you have two or three, you really don't have one. I don't believe in that. I believe that you find ways to win football games, that we have three really good ones, and we're going to find ways to take those three really good ones and win football games. So definitely it will not be a deal. I'm one of those guys that if certain guys playing really good and is hot, then we're going to roll with it. But I expect all three of them whenever everybody's healthy for playing, in a role that can help us win games.
So, Joey, back on Tyler for a moment. You said in here on Saturday night that you couldn't tell if it was an AC joint or a collarbone. Have either of those been ruled out, or is it possibly?
It's a lot of it would depend. It looks like more of his collarbone. It's not exactly where it was last year, and last year they didn't do anything other than let it heal. We're going to kind of see where he's at. Let's go back to the game. Don't forget the guy threw two complete passes. One was a huge first down to Nehemiah Martinez whenever he was hurt. And so we got to kind of see, and I want to make sure, I respect everybody in the room from the standpoint of talking about injuries of who's not going to play, but I'm also not going to put any of our guys in a situation they'll be targeted whenever they do come back, because I know no coach in America is ever going to say that they are, but it's our job to hit quarterbacks. and we're going to try to hit quarterbacks, and they're going to try to hit our quarterbacks. And so I want to make sure I'm kind of protecting those guys. I mean, he's not going to play. It is more of his collarbone, but it's right there whenever you start talking about the collarbone and that AC joint kind of fit together right there. And I'm hoping that it's less than 6, but I would probably say it's anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks to get him back.
And so you said, well, he's going in Wednesday.
He's going in Wednesday. Yeah, he's going in Wednesday to see Dr. Crawford.
Okay.
Yep.
Would it be a surgery then or not?
Possibly. And that's where it could prolong to 6 weeks if it is.
Forgotten to ask you, and you may have mentioned it in camp, and I don't remember. What has LB Moore been out with?
Hamstring. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I went over and tried to get everybody. So he's running this week. He ran last week. He's running this week, and we're hoping because he had a setback. He came back and was in one practice. He went like 5 or 6 reps, great, and then strained it again. So if he runs well this week, then we'll have him back for North Carolina State. And man, I'm hoping because I just believe we have really, really good depth in our defensive line, outside linebackers, and to play good defense, if you throw a lot of big people that can really run and be physical, and so it'd be good to have him back.
He hasn't practiced since what, early camp, mid-camp?
Yeah, he came in. It was really closer to the later part of camp is whenever he came back. So he came in out of summer with a pulled hamstring. We worked him out. So it's probably maybe that middle of that second week of camp.
Your punt return game, you used 4 different guys return punts on Saturday night. Do you want to narrow that to 1 or 2, or who did you kind of like what you saw out there from a return standpoint?
Well, we feel good. I mean, Adrian Fry is our number 1 guy, and he had a thigh bruise. Expect him back this week. Once he did that, we didn't want to put him back out there in that situation. So Miles is our second guy up. But the one thing about Drew Holcutt has done a great job, he did a great job in the spring, is he's going to catch punts. Part of being a good punt return team is not to let the ball hit the turf, and so because when you do, it's not going to be rolling. Very few times it's going to be rolling in favor of you. It's going to be rolling in favor of the punt team, and so we knew Drew would go out there and catch the ball, but I thought he did a really good job of getting vertical. I think he had somewhere between a 13 and a 15-yard return. Our goal is to have a 10-yard return because that gives us a free first down. And so he did a really good job with that. We feel comfortable with those guys. But Adrian is the guy that we want out there, if he's fully healthy and ready to go.
And you got a couple of good plays on special teams from Tyler Owens, which I guess before he came here, he made a big special teams play right here in the stadium. What'd you think of what he did in the punt game?
Coach Perry was calling him the Velociraptor. I mean, he was friggin' speed. He's one of the fastest kids in college football, and he showed it. He was in our third down package playing that dime free safety. He's going to get some more stuff whenever it comes to the secondary, but he's one of the leaders on that special teams unit, kickoff and punt, and I thought he did a really good job. He's long, he's physical, and he showed up, and we need him to show up because they're really good in the special teams.
Bryson Donnell got 8 carries the other night. What'd you think of him? Did
a good job. The game is continually to slow down. Usually with young backs, that's the thing, being patient, not bouncing the ball. That's one thing that he's done a really good job from day 1 of practice to now. He's being more physical and he's being more patient. He's going to be a really good back for us. And he'll continue, to be tough whenever Cameron gets back to see how many reps he gets because you're fixed to have a 3-headed monster back there that's pretty special. And, they give you – I was proud of our running backs, man. They are doing everything we ask. It was funny, Taj – came to me after the game and he goes, was that holding by Teeter my fault? Because we talked so much about being physical in the run game, and I told him, I said, no, you'd already gotten to the open field, so that's on you. I don't want him to be bouncing stuff at the line of scrimmage. I want him to be physical, and that really wasn't. That was more understanding that the ball was right behind Teeter, and he's just got to run his feet. And so I was really proud of our running backs, how physical they ran.
All right, that'll do it. We'll have Coach Tyree.
Okay.
Kind of just recapping last game, the defensive line really played lights out for you guys. What's the biggest takeaways from your end with their play, and what's kind of expected for them?
Well, I've been impressed with our defensive line, particularly our interior guys since I got here in the spring. I think we've got some depth there. It was really nice to see guys like Philip Bleedy, who didn't start, make a ton of plays for us. Vidal created some things. Miles did a really nice job. We've got some depth there, so we can keep those guys fresh. And, for us to go through this league, you got to have depth to be a good defensive front. And I just liked how active they were and how fast they played. And if we can do that, we'll be pretty good up front.
Taking an early look at Houston, who are some guys that jump out on the tape so far, and what makes them so special in your eyes?
Well, I think everything starts with the quarterback, Toon. He's a veteran guy. He's got a live arm. He's one of those guys that defensive coordinators don't like. He can beat you with his legs as well as his arm. They're going to have some design quarterback run plays. But where I think is particularly difficult to defend is like we had in the first half last week, where when the protection does break down, he can get out of the pocket and keep his eyes down the field to make plays, or take it, and run with it for a while. So you got to have a plan for that, and we've got to do a much better job on the back end of playing with our eye discipline and not getting our eyes stuck in the backfield when the clock goes off in their head. And up front, we got to do a much better job of leveraging the quarterback in the pocket.
Coach McGuire just spoke very highly about Adrian Fry and how important he is to that secondary. What's it mean for you to have him back this week? And I guess also bouncing off that, what do you expect out of the secondary this week?
Well, Adrian, another veteran guy for us. He's been through a lot. He's really, really smart, and so he can understand tendencies and splits and stems and know how to play. So when you lose a guy like that during the game like we did, it's a drop-off. With him and with Rashad Malik, we felt we had, a lot of good depth there. Kobe came in and did some good things, but anytime you lose a veteran guy like that, someone else has to step up. We're hoping to get him back this week, but if he doesn't, I'm sure the rest of those other three guys will step up and make plays for us.
Carlos, will be next.
Coach, you brought it up a little bit. I guess, was it as, I don't know if simple is the correct term, but when you looked at the tape, was it as simple as the guys just kind of looking at the backfield as to what led to those big pass plays that Murray State was able to complete last week?
Well, a couple of them were that, where the quarterback broke the pocket, we let him out and just didn't play the way we're supposed to on the edges. But the bigger thing was, the guys who were in man cover start getting their eyes in the backfield, and they did a nice job of converting the routes. And the quarterback did a nice job of, getting it out there for them. Those are things that, you harp on, you work on daily, and, we've got good evidence to show why we do. And so, sometimes in a loss, it's good to have those things happen, or not in a loss, but in a win, it happens so you prevent the loss later on. You can tell that kid the stove's hot all the time, but until he touches it himself and finds out it's hot, he doesn't believe you sometimes, and they found out on Saturday.
In terms of the defensive line, I know you've already spoken about them, but how crucial were they to allow Krishan to have the big game that he had with the 7 tackles? Was it them being able to kind of take away some of those offensive linemen or some guys that could have maybe deflected him away from the play?
Well, I think, our front guys are very physical. I liked that. I thought a lot of the game we reset the line of scrimmage. And when you can do that, it's obviously going to free up the linebackers. We're going to play, both odd and even fronts, and so they have different techniques for both. But I thought they handled both of that well. And, when you can get a chance to reset the line of scrimmage, it makes it a lot easier for a linebacker.
What you were able to see last week from your defense, what are some things that are going to help when you do get some of your guys like a Wooten and some of those other guys just to kind of maybe take away some snaps and maybe make guys fresher this week?
Well, I was happy with our run defense. Not perfect by any stretch. We had a couple, plays that we shouldn't have given up. That we've got to just fit better. But again, I thought our guys did a nice job of getting off, and particularly our front 2 and 3 guys, having a rotation there kept them fresh. I thought Isaac, did a decent job, as well as Charles when they got in, but they're not at the level where they need to be just yet. And so getting, some of the guys back will definitely help. Bryce and Wooten are 2 edge guys that we think highly of that will keep, our starters fresh and be there in the mix.
Coach, it sure seemed like Tyree's name was called an awful lot last night on tackles. What did you see when you watched the film?
Well, it's the same thing when I watched the film. He's a really active guy. He's a guy that can play interior as a 4-eye. We'll have him down to a 3 technique sometimes in some of our different fronts. He's a terrific edge guy, and he's athletic enough to play a little bit in space when we run our simulated pressure. So I really think he's a special weapon for us. He can take over for a game. If you don't have a plan to help him or help on him, he can overpower some people with his length and his speed to power. We've got to get him to be more consistent on leveraging the quarterback. One of the times the quarterback that got out, it was on him. He just got to understand, he's got to leverage the upfield shoulder of the quarterback. But, that's something that we can, coach better and continue to emphasize. He's a terrific football player.
When you say leverage the quarterback, what do you mean by that?
Well, we talk about leveraging the quarterback. If you're the edge guy, you've got to keep him in the pocket and not let him escape. And you can't run too high, where we call it a flyby, where the tackle, and now the quarterback can step up and out. So by leveraging the quarterback, you've got to be able to see where he's at, be able to maybe go speed to power and take that tackle back in him and keep him in pocket, or beat him to the outside right now and make him step up into the rush. But you can't go high and wide and give him that duck-up lane.
Coach, we also talked about this last week, was Coach McGuire's first win of his career here, but also it was the first win for you too, as a Texas Tech coach. Just sum up the emotions. I know we still have a long season ahead, but was your family there? Kind of just talk about that moment for you.
Yeah, I had a lot of my family were in town. I'm one of 8, so they can't all be here every weekend. My parents will be here for this one, but it was fun having them in town. I've actually got a brother and sister-in-law, and my mother-in-law are going to be here all season long. My daughter was here before, and so I had come to a game. I've been to a game before on the other sideline when I was at another school. It's a lot more fun being on this side because that stadium got loud. When I came out of the locker room, I was amazed at the energy in the crowd. It felt like the basketball games when I was here back in January and February. And it was just so neat to see it all finally come together after being here for 9 months, not having an opponent to play against, and for our guys to play, particularly early, as well as we did. It was really fun to see the crowd respond, and really happy for Coach McGuire. To me, it said a lot about how our team has bought into his culture, his way of doing things, and how hard he wants them to play.
Yeah, Coach Nathaniel Dell, what kind of threat does he pose?
Well, he's a terrific receiver. You know, he's a guy that is extremely explosive. He's quick. He's fast. Understands how to run really crisp routes. Good hands. We have to know where he's at all the time. You know, they're gonna find ways to get the ball to him. We got to figure out ways to not let that happen.
And how much are y'all going to use the Houston tape from last year preparing for this week?
Well, I think we obviously look at it, you know, during our summer studies. That's where you start it. You know, Coach Holgerson and his staff have been together for, you know, quite a bit. They do a terrific job. You know, last time I coached against Coach Holgerson was probably about a dozen years ago. He's changed over the years. He's much more balanced now. And I think it makes it a much more difficult attack than, especially when you've got a quarterback who can also run the ball. You've got to defend the entire field in the pass game and the run game. And so you can't just load up like maybe against an air raid offense where you're always dropping 8 and, you know, making them or daring them to throw the ball or run the ball. You know, it's something, though, that this year with their personnel, although they got a lot of veteran guys back, they've got some different guys. You know, they've got the transfer running back in 20. They've got the freshman running back 21. They're good backs to complement 4. A lot of the scheme, there's some similarities in what they do, and so, you know, you're going to be who you are. You believe in something as a coach, but every year there's wrinkles, and of course they had some wrinkles last week.
Anything else for Coach Streeter? All right, we'll finish with Don.
Coach, had Josiah Pierre play the other night, and what's your kind of expectation for him? How well does he do leveraging the quarterback?
Well, unfortunately, he was one of the ones that made a poor decision on one of the early third downs and came underneath. He got chipped, and instead of starting outside the tight end, which we should have had him doing, he came under, and the quarterback got out and extended a play that we ended up holding the receiver down the field. But overall, I thought he played very physically. I like how he sets edges in the run game. I think we can still get a little bit more out of him in the pass game. He had a couple flybys that he's got to convert more speed to power and use his counter move back. But he's gonna be a good edge guy for us. And again, as we get some of our other guys back in the flow, I think keeping him fresh will help him too.
Of course, the other night when you win 63-10, there's generally not a whole lot to complain about. And, you know, one of the things that Joey mentioned was, you know, pass defense had some breakdowns. How simple a fix is that? And what was kind of your evaluation of it when you look at film?
Well, I mean, not to nitpick, but I disagree with your premise. The fact that it was 63-10 had to do with our offense being fantastic, and we had an opponent that was a little bit overmatched. We have a lot of things to correct, and we are going to be harping on our guys this week to correct those things, because if we, you know, don't get it done, then we're going to have struggles down the season. So our guys they knew yesterday when they came in, hey, we're not brushing over anything. We're coaching harder this week on those mistakes. We were fortunate, you know, we got the win, but we have got to correct those major mistakes for us to be the defense, because I think we can be a championship-level defense, but not the way we played on Saturday. The effort was there. I love that. I think our guys play with effort and energy, but our discipline of our eyes and our leverage has got to improve.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Sir Roderick. You know, he passed the 2K mark last week. What kind of player what does he bring to this offense in your?
Yeah, he's very dynamic. You know, as you see, he does a lot.
really good in pass protection, great ball carrier. It kind of was what it was with the rotation we had at running back. You saw Taj get the 3 touchdowns and just kind of how the rotation went. But you saw him, he's really fun to watch him play because you saw a couple of those spin moves that he has, and then bang, there he goes for the receiving touchdown. And he had the big counter run that we had that he spun out of probably a 2-yard gain and made it a 20-plus yard gain. So he's special young man. I love him. Glad he's here for one more go with us.
You guys also had a good rotation with the tight ends. Going against Houston, kind of what's their game plan and how do you plan on utilizing them?
Yeah, same as always. We're going to find the best ways, right now to attack them. You're going to see multiple tight end sets again. We rotate those guys again based off certain play calls, and also just kind of how the week goes because all 3 of those guys bring a different dynamic to the game, but they're all versatile and they're all really good football players. So, again, you saw us in some 11 personnel, some 12 personnel. So you're going to see those guys in different facets again, and I'm kind of in the middle of the game plan right now, so we'll kind of see how much further we go. But you'll see all 3 of those guys on the field this weekend.
Coach, how'd you feel about the young receivers? I know that was one of the question marks coming into it. How'd you feel about Gerard and kind of all the guys just kind of stepping in and Miles not even making a catch and you guys kind of jumping out to that big start?
Yeah, those guys came ready to play, and I think we got the best receivers coach in the country in Coach Jones, and clearly very happy he was able to come back here, and we had that prior relationship, and I trust him, and he does a phenomenal job with those guys. But I think those guys just need an opportunity, to a certain extent. We've seen it all spring and all camp that I've told a lot of people look out for Jaron Bradley, this fall, just from what he showed all spring, summer, and fall. And Loic, we didn't have him in the spring, but he came in immediately in fall camp, and immediately he's a game changer. You see him running by people, and just the speed's different, and he's a physical freak as well. So proud of those guys. And as far as Miles goes, if you watch Miles Price, the stat sheet wasn't crazy for him, but we kind of knew going into the game that they were going to give us some of them outside throws versus the inside throws. And again, the game plan is always going to be to attack weakness, not to manufacture touches all the time. You want to do that at certain times, but if you go watch the film, go watch Miles Price and how he blocked for his teammates. Unbelievably physical on the perimeter this week, and it was awesome to see. And he's a very unselfish guy, and he's going to get plenty of opportunities as the season goes along.
You guys got to play a lot of guys and get a lot of snaps. Was there anyone that kind of had a highlight that you kind of mentioned to all the guys? Was it an underclassman or someone else that really kind of stood out? Not necessarily a touchdown pass, but just something that, like you mentioned with Miles, where he made some good blocks. Was there someone that kind of did something like that for you all?
Yeah, a young guy that just got kind of hopped in there at the end, Bryson Donnell, came in and did a really good job, ran hard. At the end of the game, we're trying to run some clock, and they're packing the box on us, so there wasn't a lot of great running lanes, but you'll see him in pass pro a few times, and he really did a great job in pass pro, keeping the quarterback clean. So he's a guy that came in late and did a really good job for us, and we were proud of him.
Go ahead, Mason. That Tyler Shuck's not going to be playing this upcoming week, but you have spoken very highly about the depth of this quarterback room. Is there really going to be that much changing when it comes to maybe play calling or schemes with Donovan and Barron under center, or do you really not have to change all that much?
No, we're not going to change. I think y'all saw that. I know a lot of people around here think Donovan Smith's a runner and quarterback, and don't get me wrong, he's very talented, but he came in and I can't remember exactly, but first 2 or maybe 3 throws were both touchdowns. So we're not going to change schematically what we do. We've kind of tailored those guys to be prepared for their opportunity, and we've been telling them all, hey, man, Donovan and Barron throughout this deal, whenever we named Tyler a starter, y'all are 1 snap away, so you got to be prepared. And unfortunately, it happened, and Donovan was unbelievable and very poised and ready for the moment, and came in and just balled out, to be honest with you. So we won't change what we're doing. Just looking forward to this week.
That said, what do you see on the Houston's defensive side of things that stood out to you, mainly in that UTSA game last week?
Yeah, that was a dogfight of a game, clearly. They play very hard. I think that's the biggest thing you're going to see. Their defensive line plays with the motor. They do a really good job. Linebackers are kind of some veteran guys that have played a lot of ball. Secondary is going to get in your face and press. They're going to play man coverage against us. So, again, they're going to add a hat to the box. So our receivers are going to have to be ready to make plays again like they did last week. Again, a very good defense. Coach Belk, their defensive coordinators, one of the hottest names in the country right now, does a phenomenal job, and those kids play their tails off. And that's, to me, that's the sign of a great coach. You see how hard those guys play. So it's going to be a good game.
Of course, Cole Spencer, one of those guys that came with you from Western Kentucky, is now out for the season. Just want to get your thoughts on that and how you hope he'll be able to bounce back.
Yeah, I hate that for him. Love him to death. He came with us. Unbelievable guy. Hate it for him, but if you know Cole, he'll be back better than ever, and looking forward to having him back next year.
Coach, first play of the season, the flea flicker. How long ago did you have that play ready to go?
About 2 weeks ago, and coming into game plan, it wasn't like, hey, let's start this thing off on fire or nothing like that. It's all, again, schematic and what is the defense going to give you? If you look at kind of how they played their secondary adjustments with the boundary safety going to scream down and run, we kind of knew that was going to be a play that could be there for us. And again, we're going to attack and we're going to have fun as well. That's part of the game here. You got to have fun if you're going to play in this offense. So it was part of it was wanting to have fun, but again, we knew it was going to be successful, and that's why we went with that play.
What was the best part, aside from the win Saturday night, for you guys in terms of how your team played?
Pretty clean game for the most part. The late interception, it was not great to have that. But other than that, we protected the football well. We did put 2 balls on the ground. We were able to get those back. Penalty-wise, you're always kind of nervous about that first game because it's the first time in front of an unbelievable crowd that we had Saturday night, and you're going up against somebody else, and everybody kind of has those first game jitters. And so you never know how the false starts may go, and we had a couple, but I thought it was just overall a pretty clean game one.
Yeah, Coach, what did you see out of Baron Morton in his snaps last weekend?
Yeah, he did a really good job. Again, you're going to look towards the end of it and see some things that don't really probably add up. Again, we're telling him to run the football into some bad boxes, and so he had some of the 3 and outs and some of those things. If we would have kept slinging it with him, I think you would have seen us just march down the field well. Barron's a stud, and I think y'all saw that whenever he was out there cutting it loose, whenever we were just kind of playing ball. So very proud of him. He got his first college collegiate touchdown and came out there ready to go. And again, confident in him. We ran the whole game plan with him, towards the end and throughout the whole thing. So confident in him, proud of his job when he came out there.
Hey, Coach, I know one focal point over the offseason was the speed of this offense. And I know there was a couple of hiccups in the early days of camp, but it seemed like it was a pretty clean game Saturday as far as the speed of this team.
Yeah, we can play fast, and that's something that we're clearly going to use. It's not every snap, but whenever we have those opportunities to catch the defense not lined up and be able to use our guys, as far as tempo goes, but it's speed. The 4th play of the game, the touchdown we threw to Loic, I mean, he's running 21 plus miles an hour, and it's just, we're lining up fast and the defense isn't ready, and those are some of the things that we're going to use to our advantage. So very proud of them. I thought this was the best job we have done up to this point of understanding the tempo plays and getting lined up and really executing those at a really high level.
How important is it to have maybe, about a dozen, maybe even more than that, players get touches on the ball as far as receptions, carrying? How important is that to have the flow of the offense, have as many people involved as possible?
Yeah, it's good. You always want that. Sometimes again, it just depends what you're getting schematically, defensively, who's going to get those touches. But it was good to be able to spread the ball around, and we had guys come in on certain plays and make big plays. 3rd and long, first quarter. After Tyler got a little hurt there, I mean, he throws an unbelievable ball, and here comes Nehemiah Martinez with a huge completion on 3rd and long. We got X White involved on a speed toss and a couple other things, and it's just really good to see all those guys get touches. And Taj and Strodrick in the backfield, and Bryson came in, and it was just really good to see all those guys get those touches and just getting the ball in their hands and getting tackled and some of those things is always just good because we really haven't had that in a few weeks now since our last scrimmage.
You opened up the game with that flea flicker to start things off. Is that something that you want to maybe incorporate more unorthodox kind of creative offensive styles, or is that just something that you guys threw in at the beginning of the game that you always knew you were going to run to start the game?
That one, like I said, that was kind of a 2 weeks ago thing that I always like to try to start the game with what I like to call an easy completion or just an easy run where you're going to have good yardage. Again, schematically showing what they do whenever they see pistol run action, that we knew that boundary safety was going to come screaming in the run fit, and so we just felt really good about it. It's a play I ran first play of the game last year against Marshall whenever I was at Western Kentucky. But as far as those type of plays, I mean, I've got a huge bag of those plays that you are going to see throughout the year. We had a few more that we didn't get to, just kind of because of how the flow of the game went this last weekend. But those things are going to happen. And again, first play of the game, I just want to get something confident for the quarterback, and we felt really, really good about it, and it hit, so it was good.
Another thing on the offense too that we really haven't seen, Sir Roderick, of course, having that big receiving touchdown. What do you want to maybe incorporate more with the running backs getting receptions as opposed to also just running on the ground too?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of the game. I think people don't realize, we had a kind of a schemed up play where we kind of didn't run a route great with Loic down there in the low red zone, heading towards the double T scoreboard there, and we checked it down to Taj, and Taj runs over the guy and gets 3 yards. And it seems like such a minute play, but people don't realize how big that is, a 3-yard gain inside the 10-yard line. It's a huge play. We had that, and then, we missed a check down once, again, off an injury, not to the back, but just check downs in general. Because, again, we're going to try to stretch the defense, kind of like we did this last week, and we're going to try to keep doing that. And when you stretch the defense, that's going to make them retreat more. And so those check downs, or the layoff throws, what we call them, are going to be there. And so those guys are going to have a huge part of that. So hopefully the more that we can continue to get better at pass protection and get those guys out more, I think the more you'll see that.
We'll go next to Ariel and finish with Don.
Coach McGuire did mention that Houston is very physical on defense and they like to attack the quarterback. How important is the offensive line going to be this week on protecting Donovan and Barron?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Again, to me, that's the best unit on their defense. You see they got 2 really good defensive ends that just have a high motor, that play really, really hard. Their 2 interior defensive linemen are very similar to what we've seen every day and Tony and Jay Boog. So just hard-nosed players that play really hard, play the game the right way. And so those guys are going to attack us. I know they will. I'm sure we're going to see probably a little bit more blitzing than we saw this last week as well. So, they're ready for the challenge. And again, I thought our offensive line did a really good job with Dennis Wilburn leading the way. I'm really proud of that group, and it's going to be a big week for them this week.
Go ahead, Don.
Jackson, a couple of weeks ago, y'all named Tyler the starting quarterback. How much work had Donovan had with the ones last week?
0.
Really?
With the 1, 0. Him and Barron split the 2 reps.
Is that your normal way of doing things? In other words, your starting quarterback is all the work with the ones, and you don't go like 2/3, 1/3 with the backup getting work with the ones?
No, we usually keep the 1 quarterback with the ones. Again, we had a lot of different packages for some 3 quarterback things last week where those guys hopped in with the ones as well. Clearly, we didn't get to implement that this last week after the injury, but yeah, that's usually how it goes.
So how well does that speak of Donovan that he was able to obviously he's got a good bit of experience, but how well does it speak of him that he was able to do what he did, being back in with those guys for the first time in a while?
Yeah, like I said, I thought he came in, did a phenomenal job, was very poised. He's confident. We've kind of said it the whole time. We were very confident in all 3 of those guys. And, Donovan got 1,000,000 reps throughout the week. That's one thing that this offense will do is throughout the week we're going to get a lot of reps. And so every single play that we called in the game, Donovan had multiple reps at those. Now, they may not have been from him taking the snap from Dennis, but he's still getting those reps and still understand the progressions and the run boxes and all those things.
And so will you rep a 3rd quarterback this week with the 2s?
No, sir. It'll be Donovan and Barron will get the reps this week.
All right, we'll change things up and end with David Collier.
Sorry, Zach, you've assessed all the players since the first game. How do you assess your play calling being back in the home stadium, albeit, you've been here before, but the first time around?
It was fun. Again, to me, play calling is about finding ways to get your good football players the ball. At the end of the day, and again, I feel like we had a good plan, but ultimately it was, Loic Fungy's running by people. Let's find a way to get Loic the ball. Jaron Bradley's playing big boy ball on the edge. How do we get Jaron Bradley the ball? And again, we kind of knew going into that game that those outside guys were going to be the ones that had a lot of space out there to make plays, and they were going to kind of cover the slots up a little bit more. So I think we had a good plan, but again, ultimately it comes down to those guys because, play callers are only as good as their players. My staff is unbelievable. We came up with they helped out with a great plan, and we came out, and at the end of the day, the kids executed the plan, and that's what it's all about. And again, we're just trying to find ways to get those guys the ball.